Welcome, my name is Eva Schmidt. I'm the head of Justice, Freedoms and Civic Space Unit of the United Nations Human Rights Monitoring Mission in Ukraine. On behalf of the mission, I appreciate your interest in human rights and in protection of people who are at the forefront of promoting human rights values. Civil society activists and human rights defenders. We believe that raising awareness about human rights and the challenges that activists face in Ukraine will empower and strengthen civil society. Civil society is a powerful ally of the states and of the United Nations in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, the Global 2030 Agenda that covers 17 goals. Here are all the goals with their icons. The SDGs are the result of the most inclusive consultations in the history of the United Nations. Grounded in international human rights law, SDGs offer a unique opportunity to advance human rights for all, everywhere, without discrimination. Within the SDG agenda, civil society can come up with a set of indicators to help identify the most pressing issues in the national context and bring attention to them. This means that civil society can perform a watchdog function to ensure that governments are delivering on their commitments. This shows us how a strong, independent and professional civil society has a key role both in the national and the global context. After this presentation, you will know how the UN perceives civil society, what the United Nations Human Rights Monitoring Mission in Ukraine does, who are human rights defenders and how international law protects them, what is the UN role in protecting and empowering civil society, what the key challenges are to civic space in Ukraine, and finally, what international mechanisms are available for the protection of human rights defenders. Let me now briefly talk about the United Nations Human Rights Monitoring Mission in Ukraine. First of all, we implement the mandate of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, headquartered in Geneva. Michelle Bachelet is the current UN Human Rights Chief. The UN Human Rights Monitoring Mission was deployed to Ukraine in March 2014, following an invitation of the government and in response to developments in the country at that time. We monitor, report, and advocate on the human rights situation in the entire country, with a particular focus on the armed conflict in the east and the Autonomous Republic of Crimea and the city of Sevastopol, Ukraine, temporarily occupied by the Russian Federation. We have 7 offices, which you can see on the map: Kiev, Kharkiv, Donetsk and Luhansk, Kramatorsk, Mariupol and Odessa. We also conduct remote human rights monitoring in Crimea. How do we collect information? First, we speak to victims and witnesses of human rights violations. Second, we do site visits and verify the information with our eyes and ears. Third, we do trial monitoring and visit places of deprivation of liberty. We analyze official documents and we speak to partners, state officials, and international community and civil society. The core of our methodology is documenting human rights violations, analyzing trends and patterns, and advocating for measures to stop violations and improve the situation. Every 3 months, the mission publishes a report on the human rights situation in Ukraine. We also produce public thematic reports. To name just some of them: a report on accountability for killings during the conflict, on conflict-related sexual violence, and briefing notes on the accountability for killings and violent deaths at Maidan and in Odessa in 2014. Here you see the usual cycle of our work: monitoring, documenting, advocacy, early warning, technical advice, and awareness raising. All our reports are available online in 3 languages. You can Google UN Ukraine Human Rights Reports or follow the link on the screen.